Ladies and gentlemen, after what seems like forever, welcome to the Subscriber Space Station. Or at least the first episode of it anyway. And what the hell is this? This is unlike any other rocket I've seen before. It is very tall. This is the first module that you guys have been sending in to me that we will actually be sending up to the Subscriber Space Station after many different problems, from saves being delayed to 1.1 happening, and it's a challenge, this one. This has been sent in by a guy called KERBALKRAZY, and it is certainly interesting. It's some kind of power module, and as you can see, despite my struts, the first launch didn't really go very well. You can see here it's kind of slow to get off the pad because there is just a lot of weight in terms of habitation modules there, and despite this supposedly being fixed in 1.1, nothing's securing the payload as it's so tall, and so as a result it's sort of wobbling around in the fairing, and so naturally it causes oscillations up and down the vehicle and eventually causes us to slowly but surely spin out. Yeah, this is a good start to the series, I can tell. Nevertheless, this is going to test my landing skill in a second. I'm going to do a SpaceX-esque maneuver here. Sans the barge, obviously. And I'm going to see if I can try and land this thing. Let's see if we can kill the speed. It's looking bleak, and no. No, that didn't really work at all, did it? So yeah, that was a fantastic start to the series. So I decide here that there's so many habitation modules on this thing, it would be literally pointless to have them all. So I think I half the amount of habitation modules, go from 8 to 4. That way we can, and I ditch the second stage there, because this thing can get to orbit just fine without that second stage there to weigh us down, and just make the rocket longer, which means it should, and I say should, cope with aerodynamic stresses a little bit better here. And I also make a more aerodynamic fairing here, and I think overall those minor changes did actually make this a lot better. And it does make the station a lot easier to maintain as well, because, well, there's less parts on the station, so it will become 1 FPSville population me a bit less frequently, shall we say. There's a lot of modules that I still need to fit on, and we don't want it being polluted right off the bat. So you can see here the first launch of the component is now underway. The first module, this habitation come power module, whatever this thing is, from KERBALKRAZY is now on its way. And actually this is a fairly capable launch vehicle once you ditch that that stage there. This is going to be a reoccurring theme in this episode, guys. Launch vehicles. Yeah. You guys build some interesting ones, putting it lightly. This one was certainly not bad once I'd actually done the tweaking and everything, although there have been some really terrible launch vehicles. Well, this one was probably, without any discredit to KERBALKRAZY, because his module is actually very good, especially the little bit on the top with the 1.25 meter adapter there. It's really cool. It's just the launch vehicle needed some tweaks, but thankfully now I've put the tweaks on, it was okay. So you can see here now we're moving in on the station. We're going to dock this thing to the end module here. Of course, obviously the original Subscriber Space Station save got corrupted, and obviously when I got my new computer I lost the save completely, and the craft file was too complicated to transfer over and everything. So I basically made an exact copy and put it in the exact same orbit pretty much that I was in with the original one. So it's still 250 kilometers by roundabouts 250 kilometers. So if you build any SSTOs or whatever, make sure they can get up to that altitude if you are going to send any in. But you can see here we're now within 30 meters or so of the target. We're going to start controlling it from the 2.5 meter port. We're going to move in nice and close. We've got to translate across to that side there. Of course, line that up with the radial. I don't think it's the radial. The normal. That's it. I've lined the station up with the normal vector so that the port on the end there that we're trying to dock to is on the normal vector, as you should, because that means the docking port is stationary when the craft rotates in orbit, which it does, even with SAS on, which does kind of suck, but at the end of the day it's just a bit of extra manoeuvring, which isn't really much of a problem. And you can see here we've managed to actually get round just about fine. So now it's all just about basically getting ourselves on position here, making sure we're in the right location and translation to actually dock to the station here. We're going to be seeing in this episode a lot of flitting between 4 times normal speed and just normal speed. and me talking in different segments. But you can see here that this, aside from the earlier failures, this kind of went off without a hitch, and the module does look very, very awesome indeed. And so I thank KERBALKRAZY, if he is watching this video, for sending in this module, as I thank all of you, because all of your modules that have been incorporated into my game thus far will be getting in, and the station looks phallic. Oh dear, time to extend the panels so it doesn't. Quickly! Extend the panels so we've got power and it doesn't look like something that should not be named. But yeah, KERBALKRAZY, thanks for your submission. Moving swiftly on, we have the second module for today, and that is by Niels Korpel, and it is a compact docking bay for SSTOs, modules, fuel craft, external craft. I'm not quite sure. It's a docking bay for every occasion by the looks of things, with the amount of docking bays and ports that are on it. They're on there of all shapes and sizes, big, small, tiny, and it's all encapsulated in two 3.75 meter or Mark III cargo bays that are stuck open, and it genuinely looks really, really awesome. I did make a couple of modifications here, such as putting in some RCS tanks and some batteries and stuff, just to make sure that I could actually dock this thing on okay, because obviously using the station, now that it's so long, would probably be a little bit inefficient, and so I'm just trying to get them placed here, because symmetry doesn't like to work very well in the VAB, especially when you're touting cargo bays and stuff like that, stuff that is meant for the spaceplane hangar by design. It's no big deal. I end up putting the thrusters on individually because, well, it just didn't really want to play ball, if I'm honest. But we got it sorted, no problem, and I genuinely think that this is a very, very cool looking module. Now, as for the placement here, we're going to be placing it on the aft end of the space station. So we put the adapter that KERBALKRAZY sent in on the first module, we put that on the fore end. We're going to put this on the aft end, and the launch again is very straightforward. In fact, I think this was one of the most efficient launch and rendezvous that I have ever done. I think it was like 2 or 3 orbits it took at the end of the day to actually get close to this thing. It might have even been less. It might have only been 1 orbit. I'm not quite sure. I did edit it out at the end of the day. And this launch vehicle is also one of the smaller ones that I've used, and it's also one of the more stable, which was kind of surprising. Whenever I use these 3.5 meter launch vehicles, they always tend to flip out on me somehow. I don't know if it's something to do with the aerodynamics or the shape of the fairing that I'm using, but whatever it is, it never seems to work properly for me. Maybe it's just the fact that I'm terrible at the game, or something like that. It probably is, if I'm honest, because I'll be the first to admit that I'm terrible at this game. But you can see, we came up and we got a brilliant encounter right off the bat here, and we literally, it was just a matter of trimming it ever so slightly to make sure we came into a close proximity. We launched just at the right time, and so here we're just going to start trimming our encounter to make sure that we get as close as possible to the target, and I think we did actually manage this within 1 to 2 orbits, which I'm astounded by, because you guys know I'm probably one of the most inefficient players you can possibly get when playing this thing. It's literally just a case of correcting your inclination and doing a few other orbital maneuvers, and I cut them all out for you, and we come up on the actual station itself, the phallic looking station as it is at the moment, but for not much longer, hopefully, as hopefully once we kill our velocity for this and we bring it in nice and close, we should be able to dock this one on to the back or the aft end. I'm not acquainted with military navy speak here, so if I'm getting these terms wrong, then do let me know. In fact, I know you guys will let me know. If I get something wrong, you're always pretty quick to let me know. So here you can see we're coming up on the target, and again, this is just a fairly standard docking procedure here. We're just going to, because obviously it's already aligned with the radial, we don't need to do that on the station end here. And so we're just going to translate across, make sure that we're aligned, and then go in for the mating. I mean docking. It's not a mating, especially not with a station that looks as phallic as that. Let's just forget that it looks phallic, because it's not going to look phallic for much longer. Again, these new visual enhancement mods, I can't get over them. They look amazing, especially with the Rabid skybox in that I've added in the last couple of episodes. It looks so good. I really can't recommend Scatterer and like stock visual enhancements enough, especially with this skybox as well. It just looks gorgeous. I mean, look at this thing. And I'm playing at 60 frames a second as well, or close enough to it on pretty high settings, and I just love this new computer so much. But you can see we have contact here, we just line ourselves up, and we have docking. And we finally have something which actually looks like a proper space station. for the first time in forever. But yeah, Niels Korpel, thanks for your submission. Moving on, we have a white chocolate Easter egg. I mean, we have a power module by Connor Assassin 5. This is both one of the more interesting modules as well as one of the more complex. I did have to modify it somewhat by putting RCS thrusters and little SAS modules as well as some struts to stop it from wobbling around so much. But aside from that, we actually managed to, the modifications are fairly straightforward. And so you can see here the launch, this is actually the second launch of this thing. I did cut the first one out because, well, the 3.5 meter death knell happened to me again, and basically adding extra boosters somehow helped the aerodynamics. I guess it sort of spread it out and gave it more of a lifting body or something and stopped it from, I don't know, flipping out like it was prone to doing beforehand. But you can see here again, we're just trying to get up to the altitude of the station, and we do it no problem, guys. One of the main things of this station that I have been finding, which is probably stating the obvious if I'm honest, is that it's given me good practice with the whole rendezvous technique. I've actually done rendezvous in a very, very long time, and when I do it, I'm usually very inefficient, so putting all these modules up on the station is actually doing me good, because it's giving me practice on how to put the most efficient rocket into orbit, basically. And you can see, obviously, here, Scatter has developed such a wonderful, really annoying bug. Something to do with the atmospheric effects, I'm guessing, because it's stuck on the screen. And that persists for the rest of the video. I'm sorry, guys, I know it looks ugly, but what can you do? Scatterer is very buggy at times. Despite it being a lot better than it was, put it that way, it can still be a little bit temperamental at times. And unfortunately, this is just a blot on what is otherwise a very, very beautiful game at the moment with all this sort of thing. But you can see here, I edited out most of the rendezvous stuff again, because no one wants to just look at the new maneuver nodes and just watching something go around a planet for the best part of 5 minutes. So I managed to just cut out to when we got our close approach, and we're now approaching the station. Now, docking this thing was an exercise in patience, I think is the main thing there, because, well, the first of my mistakes, I forgot to align the docking port to the normal. So therefore the station is actually ever so slowly rotating while I'm trying to go in here. It's too slow really to notice at the moment, but as we start going in, you'll notice that we'll start to get ever so slightly off our node. On top of this, I was trying to sort of fudge the docking here and try and go in manually, so I came in a little low, then a little high, and I was just trying so desperately here to try and get ourselves docked, using the SAS, using the RCS, backing away, going for another approach, taking away, and nope, we missed again there. Come on, Callum, you can do this. You've docked many things before. You've docked harder things than this solar truss here. Come on, Callum. Come on, Callum. No, that's a solar panel. You better do away here. It was, of course, at this point, naturally, that I realised that my controls are back to front on the RCS here. It was too late to try and reorient stuff, so I was just trying to make do. I was trying to learn how to use them, and I think on this attempt, we did actually get in fine. Yes, we're back at normal speed, approaching very, very slowly. We thrust inwards. We have a bit of a bounce, and SAS, RCS off. Let the magnetic happen. And we're docked. Now, this solar truss, now that it's actually on the station, looks incredible. It looks amazing. Especially look at us extending the panels here. It looks very, very nice indeed, and it would almost look nice with another one on the other docking port side there. We'll have to see what the other solar trusses that people have sent in looks like here. But Connor Assassin 5, thank you very, very much for your power module / solar truss, whatever it is. It looks very, very nice, and the space shanty town that is our subscriber space station really is starting to take shape now. I mean, look at this thing. It looks really rather nice, actually. But we've got one more module left to add, which you'll see in just about, well, a second or two. And finally, in our list of modules for today, we have a module by Pickled Pluto. And it is a habitation module, which looks very nice, actually. It's a very unique design with the science lab and the 3 sort of radial habitation modules. Now, this rocket, again, this is where I come back to launch vehicles. A lot of launch vehicles I give a lot of flack because they are aerodynamically unstable. I know I design a lot of those which are of that case, and they need a lot of testing before you can actually get the balance just right. This thing, as well as having its controls turned backwards for whatever reason, I think due to the amount of probe cores on it, so I'm had to sort that out. On top of that, it was almost the opposite to that. It was too aerodynamically stable because of those big wings on the back there. As a result, I had trouble pitching over at the right altitude because, well, simply the air was moving too fast over the wings that the control surfaces didn't really have much authority. And so as a result, I went into a slightly higher inclination orbit, a less efficient orbital trajectory as a result of it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for like only a short hopped curve in orbit or whatever, like this case is. It really doesn't matter all that much because obviously we get into orbit fine, and well, we managed to rendezvous this thing with a lot of fuel to spare actually. But just with regards to just as like a tip for the future, guys, if you're going to any sort of planet, make sure you got that balance right. Otherwise, you don't want something too rigid in the air, otherwise it'll just fly straight and true and you won't be able to control it at all. So here is where I made a fatal error with this one. I detached that tank there before I'd actually killed all of my velocity, and so as a result, I slow down with the actual module, and blam! It hits the station. Thankfully, the station has SAS, and nothing was damaged, despite it hitting like a good 3 or 4 meters per second there. That was a fair old whack that the subscriber space station took there, right on the cargo bay module there. But nevertheless, it's intact, and all it caused was a minor wobble, and we're pretty much lined up now, and it managed to stabilize itself. So again, fairly standard procedure of just coming in close and docking to this thing. Again, I love the actual shape of this thing. I'm wondering what I'm going to be doing with those 3 1.25 meter ports though, although I'm sure I'll find a use for them at some point, like some kind of crew cabin. But there we go, guys! We're docked! That is the first 4 modules of about 16 that need to go onto this thing, and already we're starting to get a little bit of FPS lag, which is means it's going to be fun in the long run. And you can see the sun setting really beautifully there with the scattering mod there. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much going to round it off for this episode of the Subscriber Space Station. I hope you did enjoy, bearing in mind it's been such a long time in the making. Hopefully I'll be able to get more of these done when I get spare time, whatever that is. At the moment, I'm very, very busy with university visits, driving tests, and what have you. So if I'm a bit inactive, then that's why. But I hope you guys enjoy. I will try and make one of these as often as I can, although again, I can't promise anything. And I hope you guys enjoy it. If you have any tips for me to fly things better and everything, leave them in the comments down below. And of course, leave your thoughts on the station in the comments down below. But until next time, guys, this is Brad signing out. And as always, peace out. And here we go for a lovely sunset. Look at that. Fantastic.